Good morning, all, depending when you're watching this. Good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio. So today, I'm going to be showing you an exciting new deck. A deck which is entirely rooted in the new Ultra Prism expansion that just became legal this very weekend. We are talking about Magnezone and Dusk Mane Necrozma. Now, we've mentioned these cards together in a couple of videos, but I think it's time we really sat down and started having a look at the deck as a whole and how it might work. So we need to start off with Dusk Mane Necrozma. Dusk Mane Necrozma is a very powerful new card that came out in Ultra Prism. Claw Slash for 60 damage is just not impressive and we shouldn't worry about it. But it's a basic Pokemon with 190 HP, and we've seen things like Buzzwole take advantage of this. When you have a Pokemon like Gardevoir, for instance, coming around hitting multiples of 30, it really is an advantage to have 190 rather than 180. But the main attraction here for 4 energy, 220 damage, and discard free energy from this Pokemon. It is a very, very powerful attack. If you had a choice band on there, you will KO basically anything. Metagross GX with 250 HP, fine. Gardevoir, you're already hitting for weakness, and your average Pokemon like Zoroark GX, for instance, will go down in one hit. This Pokemon, if utilized properly, will win the game in just 3 attacks. And we should also give a quick shout out here to the GX attack that does a flat 250 if you are losing the game, if you are behind on prizes. Does it for 3 energy rather than 4. You don't have to discard, and it does 250 without needing a choice band. So do make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, this is still a very good and useful GX attack. But it's not the main attack, it is a once per game kind of thing, but bearing in mind, even though you can do 250 with a second attack and you rarely need to do more than 250, this is still pretty sweet. So, that's a good card, but of course the free energy is a bit of a pain. Well, that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we bring in Magnezone, also from Ultra Prism, which has a great ability, Magnetic Circuit, which just allows you to attach as many metal energy as you like during your turn. So you can attach all of these energies straight away, and then you're off. You attach all the energy to Dusk Mane Necrozma, you hit, you are good. Big fan of this Pokemon, because Dusk Mane Necrozma, as good as it is and as powerful as its attacks are, just isn't good unless you can get the energy on faster. These attacks are just flat out expensive, but it will work because of Magnezone. I mean, the example I often use here is the old Black Kyurem EX. It wasn't a good card in and of itself. It was way too expensive despite the potential, but then you brought it in with Blastoise and you're going, oh yeah, maybe this will be good. And that really is the main basis of the deck. You sit there using Dusk Mane Necrozma to smash and Magnezone to power it up. But there are a couple of other Pokemon that are very, very important for this particular deck. Chief among them is the new Dialga GX. Now, there is a metal version of this coming in the next set, we assume, and that's kind of interesting. There is a question to decide whether you'd rather have the weakness to fire or the weakness to fairy. We will wait and see. There is a strong argument that the Dragon one is actually better, because although you're weak to Fairy, all your other Pokemon are Metal, so you're going to be hitting for weakness to destroy Fairy decks anyway, but the Metal one should be coming, and of course the Metal one you can play something like a Delmise to do a bit of extra damage, should you wish to do so. And as we're here, just quickly, Delmise is an option here for all your Pokemon other than Dialga. To be honest, as we've seen, you'll generally be hitting the numbers anyway without needing a Delmise. Choice Band should do the trick. The only really relevant 230 HP Pokemon is Gardevoir, but given that you're hitting for weakness, you won't need Delmise, so that Dusk Mane Necrozma can go for 220 to 230. So Dialga here is absolutely brilliant for 2 reasons. Firstly, you've got Overclock, draw until you've got 6 cards in your hand. If it's the beginning of the game, it's a basic Pokemon, it's a single energy. If you've got nothing in your hand, or even after your opponent drops a fairly devastating end to put you down to 1 card or whatever, in comes Dialga using Overclock, it can turn the tide of the game. But you've also got Timeless GX here. 150 damage, and it's your turn straight away. Now, the ideal here is you put something like a Choice Band down, KO something like a Tapu Lele, and the theory here is that you take a 2-prize KO with Dialga, you immediately get another turn, and then you go and take a 2-prize KO using your Dusk Mane Necrozma. There are very few decks that can survive if your opponent takes 4 prizes in what is essentially a single turn. That'll end the game in a lot of matchups. It is something you need to bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great, great card. It's a one-off. It's not something you really need more than one in your deck, but it is a great, great card that you do need to play in this deck. And I really do think it is a no-brainer. I think it's got to be a one-off because you need this GX attack. You don't really have a great GX attack. Now, I did mention previously how good the GX attack can be when you're using Dusk Mane Necrozma. And Dusk Mane Necrozma's GX attack is fine, but it is nothing, absolutely nothing, compared to how good Dialga's is. And I did mention that when you're looking at Dusk Mane Necrozma, you'll rarely need to use a GX attack because you can do 250 regardless. So yeah, quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, I think you need this. And the last Pokemon I'm going to mention here, just as a little bit of a fun little side note, is Heatran. And the reason I quite like Heatran is because you need a non-GX attacker. Now, to be fair, you have got Magnezone as a non-GX attacker because Zap Cannon, 134 energy, but it's 4 energy and you can't use Zap Cannon during your next turn, so you've got to get it out the active, and then of course you're leaving Magnezone in the active, but Magnezone really is a great support Pokemon that you need. I'm not a huge fan of attacking with Magnezone unless you have to. I would generally rather attack with the Heatran from Ultra Prism. Firstly, sometimes you can get a KO with Guard Press, and that's pretty cool. Take 30 less during the following turn. You've already got 130 HP, and you're only giving up 1 prize. But 130, discarding 2 energy, I like this. Yeah, you've got to discard the energy, but Magnezone gets it back. I really do like Heatran here. I don't know if you'll have room for Heatran, and you might end up having to use Magnezone just because you can't spare the room for Heatran. But either way, I do think Heatran is worth including as a non-GX attacker, because otherwise you're putting Magnezone in the firing line, and then you've got to move it because you can't attack the following turn. Now, in terms of trainer cards, the big one here really is Mount Coronet. Mount Coronet allows you to just grab 2 Metal Energy from your discard and pop them into your hand every turn, which is needed, because Dusk Mane Necrozma attacks for 220, discarding 3 energy, so you use Mount Coronet, get 2 of them back, immediately attach them with Magnezone, and as long as you've got 1 energy in your hand to attach as your attachment for the turn, or with Magnezone, you're off and rolling. It really is over the top good. Mount Coronet along with these cards is great. Back when we were using Black Kyurem, we had to rely on stuff like Superior Energy Retrieval to always get this energy back. That's not something that you need to use now because you've got something like Mount Coronet, which is going to be absolutely huge. Obviously, Professor's Letter is a card that you should be considering to search out those energy in the first place. Fisherman should very much be looked at least until it rotates in September, to get 4 energy from your discard. And I know that you get energy from your discard with Mount Coronet, but sometimes you need more than a couple. And let's face it, you can search it out with Tapu Lele. That makes things quite easy. And might I suggest a combination of N and Cynthia here? And the reason is very simple. Professor Sycamore discards cards. And you don't really want to be discarding your Magnezone line too early. And although you want to have energy in the discard to get it back with Mount Coronet, you really want to draw the energy, attach the energy, discard it, and then get it back with Mount Coronet. You don't, and I made this point when I talked about Lady, that new card that came out a couple of days ago. Did that video a couple of days ago, go check it out. But I made the point in that video. Fisherman is great for recovering energy, but it's even better if you can use the energy and discard it naturally, and then recover it with Fisherman. And I suppose I should have mentioned earlier, you could always consider something like an Octillery or like a Zoroark here to draw yourself some extra cards. One of the things I like about Zoroark GX in this particular deck is that although it is a little bit of a, ooh, I can Guzma it out and take 2 prizes off it kind of card, generally your opponent wants to take out either your Magnezone or your Dusk Mane Necrozma. Zoroark is not going to be a priority for them to KO, which means you should be able to leave it on the bench and it should be safe for a little while. This deck definitely has a lot of potential. It can one-hit KO anything. It can win the game in 3 turns. It's a great deck that I am a huge fan of. Whether it will prove to be consistent enough, I don't really know. But if Black Kyogre and Blastoise was great back in the day, I see no reason why this shouldn't be a great deck moving forward. But as always, I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. What do you think about this particular deck? Is it going to be a player? Go nuts, but be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and so on, you can do so by going to patreon.com/PTCG Radio. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.